'Tis the season to go slamming. Fa la 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 la. So get this, Christmas is the Christian story about a Jew. Out of the blue, an angel Gabriel came to Mary and told her that she's preggers with the Son of God. She didn't mind bearing the sacred bod. She was a loyal servant, fervent with pride. Joe doesn't chide even though he got no lovin', despite the fact she has a wafer in the oven. She's a virgin. They couldn't use a Nazareth surgeon where they lived. They had incentive in essence to go to Bethlehem for a census ordered by the Roman Emperor Caesar Augustus, but they're like, it's just us three, but still had to go about 65 miles with child to adjust to the new lifestyle, all while showing God her fake smile. They get to Bethlehem and are all, but the hotels ignore them because they can't take more strangers. Mary's got to give birth. The baby's life is in danger. Can they call a ranger? Got to think smart like Granger. So they go to a barn and have the baby in a feeding trough for animals. A manger. It's kind of where you pee at Wrigley. Enter Jesus. His birth was bigly. God sends out metaphorical letters to shepherds because that's who you tell. An angel said, God's son is here. Give 3 cheers. So they peered and shed a tear and went back to the frontier where they would tell the whole world to not be fearing. The 3 wise men or magi are advised to get their badge in discovering Jesus because a star told them to, so they moved through Judea where King Herod sent them on an errand to find the new child so he could get riled up and offer his praise for the new king.
Long live the king.
You all know they brought gold, frankincense, and myrrh, but what if I told you it all makes sense? Let's learn. You got cash for gold, some decent sense. The frankincense stuff was burned to make sweet scents, and myrrh was a rare perfume. I know what he's dropping for Lent. Being the son of God sure has its perks, although this just sounds like a gift card to Bath and Body Works. They pose for the pic and the chick is so sick of the picnic, but the 3 wise guys get advised in a dream that Herod, the king, well, he's raging and wants to kill Jesus as a threat to his crown, but Jesus is king of a much bigger town, like the whole earth. So when they unearth that plan, they decide to take the scenic route around Judea. Good idea. Herod, the false cherub, sent soldiers to Bethlehem to kill every child under 2, so God told our father Jew, Joe the Schmo, to go away. All this in a dream to Dad Region, so the 3 flee to Egypt. Happy ending, right? Well, here's a shocker. All those kids under 2 got Anakin Skywalkered. When King Herod died, Jesus got out of the pyramid to start a new period called the New Testament. But yeah, those kids, they just die? With the Nativity all tidy, let's see how we actually got to the holiday. It don't start with little JC, we go to BC when Europeans celebrated the day with the mostest. It's the winter solstice. It means the sun will stay out longer and get stronger. And speaking of, the Norse in Scandinavia will rave with you during Yule from 12/21 to jam out in celebration of the sun's radiation. See, dads and boys didn't get toys, they would slog to get a log and people would feast until that log ceased. Each spark from the giant twig meant a new calf or pig would be born in next year's gig. Winter in Europe, the cattle was slaughtered so they didn't have to feed them and heed them. They had meat that was very fresh, which also meshed well with beer and wine, as this was the time they finally fermented, and Germans meant it when they feared the pagan god Odin, so they stayed in hoping it would be pleasing, or because it's December and it's freezing. Remember at Halloween how I told you Feralia, well, at solstice time, the Romans had Saturnalia. See, Saturn, when it's not polishing its rings, would focus on agriculture things a week before the solstice and last 1 month. Everyone would act like a clown as social orders were flipped upside down. I thought that was Uranus. They'd entertain us amidst the scurvy. This sounds a lot like peasants siege the city, but not like the purge. Business and schools closed for a month. Can we merge that with our holiday? Juvenalia celebrated the juveniles of Rome, and Mithra on 12 the 25th celebrated its B-Day, and this was the most important day for some as Mithra was the god of unconquerable sun. So it's around 300 and Christians are
For Sparta! For freedom! To the death!
looking to celebrate Jesus' birth. Never heard a date from the Bible, but let's not idle and assume spring, because why is shepherds herding a winter thing? Stupid dope, so foolish. But Pope Julius I declared that December 25 would be the day to go live to compete, adopt, and absorb Saturnalia from all your Romans. It was first called the Feast of the Nativity, and it spread around 432 AD's nuts. Ha got 'em, then across the pond when England had it in the 500s, plus 2 centuries when the scans would stand to celebrate. The Greeks and Russian Orthodox would extend their clocks 12 days to the Epiphany when the 3 wise men showed up. Christians chose the winter solstice because they needed better ratings, but began hating when people became fools. Someone named the Lord of Misrule was cruel and led the poor to demand food and drink, which they should, I think, tone it down a little, but their spirits were lifted and didn't feel belittled. 1038 was the first recorded version of Christmas. It was Old English for Christ's Mass. Now it's New English for go once a year so your parents don't kick your ass. In the 17th century, Oliver Cromwell was not well. He kicked Xmas out in 1645, but Charles II beckoned to take it back. He put out a bulletin out of the Puritans who outlawed it in Boston from 1659 to 81, but they've always been no fun for festive sounds, unlike Jamestown, who let them break it down. Thanks to that little war we fought for independence, English customs, we said good riddance until June 26, 1870, when Christmas ideas that were general suddenly became a holiday that went federal. 1800s and we got crime, but I'm glad because it's an easy rhyme and we got to cut down on time. 1828, NYC established the first police force because of course there were Christmas riots? Forget silent, that night was anything but quiet. 1819, no TV screens, but there were books, so take a look at Washington Irving learning of ways to make a Christmas story, so he went to write the sketchbook of Jeffrey Crayon Gent. It was a series of sketches showcasing the poor and riches not acting like bitches but friends celebrating ancient traditions, which many believe now he made up, but they hadn't made up their minds on what traditions to use, so they adopted a lot of his. Charles Dickens would stick in with a Christmas story to show the wealthy don't have to be a Scrooge, hoping it would be more than a subterfuge. SAT word. Can't talk about Christmas without Santa Claus because he's the major face of the holiday. Back in the day, the hunk was a monk named St. Nicholas who was born around 280 Anno Domini in Patara, which is modern-day Turkey. He was always perky and traveled to help others, giving away his wealth to keep himself in emotionally good health. The next fact is so sick as St. Nick saved 3 chicks from getting paid to suck.
Not in front of the kids.
Oh, sorry, is that too vulgar? He saved them from being indulgers and became known as a protector of kids and sailors, so many felt his feast day was tailored to bring luck, so they got married and purchased large gifts, all on December the 6th. In 1773 and 4 before we went to war, the Dutch honored Sinterklaas in the winter cause that's when he passed. The nickname was short for Saint Nicolaas, which caught on fast. In the 18s, his image was growing, showing him in a blue 3-cornered hat, yellow stockings, and a red waistcoat. How can you glow when you look like a soldier? But he bolstered sales in stores. Everyone wanted to see these makeshift carnies, and it helped get money for the Salvation Army. 1822, Clement Clark Moore opened the door for his jolly old elf with "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," which he wrote himself, while in 1881 Thomas Nash drew a cartoon depicting Moore's Santa, which is the one we've all come to believe. There are different names and stories all around the world, but I'll just focus on the American jingle, although Kris Kringle comes from Christkind, which means Christ child, and was joined by St. Nicholas while on their travels to do their Christmas missions, going to the Swiss and Germans. I won't skirt over Christmas trees, besides the skirt goes under. I hate myself. All the ancients saw evergreens as a symbol for life since they loved the sun, especially during solstice, so this was being put in homes in Germany in the 16th century, where they would put in stacks of wood with evergreens and flew off the handle by adding candles. When Martin Luther had a dream to add things on fire to a tree to mimic the stars, I'm scared low-key. Do we need to call the bear Kama Smokey? Many traditions have spawned. Fam saw it as not wrong to give their kids gifts now so they don't seem spoiled, while the US toiled to come up with a culture of Christmas, adopting from many others and just decided to be kind to one another. We've had classic poems and snowy motion pictures and songs you hate to love as holiday fixtures. I hope your Christmas brings peace after a tough 2016. I wish that we can all just laugh, even when the jokes seem mean. May your gifts go so far that they go out of sight. Merry Christmas to all! Unless you're Jewish, atheist, some devilish, or anything else where you just celebrate with your mates, even though this should be for Christians, but they don't hate because the birthday was arbitrary and not ancillary, really imposed to compete with other feasts, but being nice is neat, so I can't really ridicule during this rant with extra words coming on like a fright. And to all a good night!